These are the top 15 causes of death, the top 15 reasons Americans die. And a plant-based diet can help prevent nearly all of them, can help treat more than half of them, and in some cases even reverse the progression of disease, including our top 3 killers. Okay, but the link between meat and cancer is such that even the Journal of Meat Science last year asked, should we become vegetarians? Or they said, can we make meat safer? There's a bunch of additives, for example, that can suppress the toxic effects of the blood-based iron, the heme iron found in meat. Now, the additives are still under study, but could provide an acceptable way to prevent colon cancer, right? Because avoiding meat, obviously, completely out of the question. I mean, that's... They fear that if the National Cancer Institute recommendations to reduce meat consumption were adhered to, sure, cancer incidence may be reduced, but farmers in the meat industry would suffer important economic problems. Now, for those of us more concerned about the suffering caused by the meat industry rather than the suffering of the meat industry, what happens if you put cancer on a vegan diet? Well, the Pritikin Research Foundation just completed this elegant series of experiments, which I want to spend a bit of time on. Simple experiments. They put people on different diets, draw their blood, and then drip their blood on cancer cells growing in a petri dish, and just stood back to see whose blood was better at suppressing cancer growth. They are the ones that published that study showing that the blood of those on a vegan diet was dramatically less hospitable to cancer. Now, even the blood of those on a standard American diet fights cancer. I mean, if it didn't, everybody'd be dead, right? It's just that the blood of those eating vegan fights about 8 times better.
I'd also like to introduce Dr. Neil Bernard, President of the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. One finds a way of eating, and they want to share it with someone else because they feel good, and there's nothing wrong with that. And Dr. Bernard, you're a vegan, right? You stopped eating meat how many years ago?
Right after residency, back in the mid-'80s. And I have to say, some people will do it because it's a terrific way to lose weight. I mean, look at Kelly. She looks like $1 million. And there are people who come into our center, and they discover that they throw away all those arduous diets and carb counting and so forth, and instead they're just eating a plant-based diet. Their metabolism rises about 16% after a meal, so the weight just comes off. Now, a lot of people will do it because it's the only diet that opens up the arteries again. So if you're headed for a heart attack or a stroke, this is the way that no other diet can do this, but a plant-based diet opens the arteries again. And by the way, for any men in the audience, those artery blockages don't just cause heart attacks, they also cause impotence. What you're saying is it's right in the sense that you do need to look at your nutrients, but the nutrients on a meat-based diet are much worse. When a person goes to a vegan diet and the vegetables and fruits and whole grains are coming in, your fat content goes way down and cholesterol goes down, but beta-carotene goes up and vitamin E, and your nutrition overall is better for you. And is vegan women in pregnancy have fewer complications, healthier babies. A vegetarian diet with dairy products can make you anemic, because as we all remember from those lectures in medical school, the dairy products reduce iron absorption. So throwing out the dairy is a good thing too. By the way, it's not as if we haven't put this to the test. In fact, I have a chart. This is from the American Diabetes Association, the non-vegetarians, your average meat eater. Their body mass index, which, as you know, ought to be below 25. Oops, they're pushing 29 almost. Semi-vegetarians, meat less than once a week, down to a little bit thinner than pesco-vegetarian, meaning fish, no other meat at all. They're a little thinner. The lacto-ovo, milk and egg type vegetarians, they're a little thinner. But the only group that's right in the smack in the middle of the healthy weight range is the vegans. But the reason that the American Diabetes Association did it is my next chart, which is diabetes, which is an epidemic everywhere. Look at the vegans. It's almost non-existent. The meat eaters, as you know, you see them every day, lots of diabetes. So you're right, a person can choose wherever they want to go on the spectrum. But for me as a doctor, what am I going to suggest? I'm going to suggest learn how to eat brown rice and spaghetti and marinara sauces and have oatmeal for breakfast instead of the sausage, you're going to do better.
A lot of people come to this lifestyle because they want to change their diet and they want to achieve better health. And you see all these celebrities and athletes adopting a vegan lifestyle because of health reasons. So let's talk about that first. Before you do anything, please watch the documentary called Forks Over Knives. It's available on Netflix, online. This documentary will explain everything you need to know about plant-based nutrition and how it affects your long-term health. So in a nutshell, this is a whole foods plant-based diet. So ideally it's low in fat, free of animal products and processed foods. And no, you don't have to eat tofu or soy products. You just eat real foods. The foods that humans are designed to eat and have been eating for thousands of years. Foods like barley, corn, millet, potatoes, rice, wheat. These were the caloric engines that built human civilization. People ate a predominantly plant-based, starch-based diet, and these people were free of diseases that the Western world now faces. You look at the leading causes of death in the Western world, and the plant-based diet can prevent and reverse most of those diseases. What are authorities in the nutrition world saying about the plant-based diet? Well, the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics fully support a vegan diet. In fact, they published a paper in 2009 stating it is the position of the American Dietetic Association that appropriately planned vegetarian diets, including total vegetarian or vegan diets, are healthful, nutritionally adequate, and may provide health benefits in the prevention and treatment of certain diseases. Well-planned vegetarian diets are appropriate for individuals during all stages of the life cycle, including pregnancy, lactation, infancy, childhood, and adolescence, and for athletes. So this is the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics saying this, the largest authority on nutrition in the United States. You look at someone like Kaiser Permanente, the #1 managed care organization in the United States, and they put out an update for physicians stating research shows that the plant-based diets are cost-effective, low-risk interventions that may lower body mass index, blood pressure, hemoglobin A1C, and cholesterol levels. They may also reduce the number of medications needed to treat chronic diseases and lower ischemic heart disease mortality rates. Physicians should consider recommending a plant-based diet to all their patients, especially those with high blood pressure, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, or obesity. So these are some of the biggest authorities in the healthcare field coming out and saying that a vegan diet, a whole foods plant-based diet, can help prevent and reverse chronic diseases. So if you're looking for better health, this is definitely for you.
There's a ton of scientific evidence out there demonstrating that a vegan diet is optimal for health, longevity, prevention of chronic disease, and even athletic performance. Some of the top nutrition experts in the world. The president of the American College of Cardiology, Dr. Kim A. Williams, is vegan and has stated that a low-fat, vegan, whole foods diet is optimal for preventing heart disease. The editor-in-chief of the American College of Cardiology, Dr. William C. Roberts, has also stated that cholesterol is the only risk factor for atherosclerosis. So cutting cholesterol completely out of your diet is your best defense against coronary artery disease. Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn of the Cleveland Clinic also uses a low-fat, vegan, whole foods dietary intervention to treat his chronically ill patients and reverse heart disease, and he's even treated Bill Clinton and reversed his heart disease. Dr. Neil Bernard is a diabetes expert, and he uses a low-fat, whole foods, vegan dietary intervention to prevent and reverse type 2 diabetes, and he's even able to cure some of his patients of type 2 diabetes using that dietary intervention. Dr. John McDougall is another medical doctor who uses a low-fat, whole foods, vegan dietary intervention to treat his chronically ill patients, and he even diet coached Carl Lewis, 9-time Olympic gold medalist and former world's fastest man. And Dr. T. Colin Campbell, researcher and author of the China Study, the largest epidemiological study on cancer ever conducted, found that meat intake is strongly tied to cancer risk. There are a ton of medical and nutritional experts who support a vegan diet for the prevention and treatment of chronic disease and to promote longevity, and all of the experts that I just mentioned have their own published research, their own books, their own websites, and you have a ton of reading you can do on your own, and if you don't want to listen to me, then at least listen to them. You should also check out nutritionfacts.org, which is run by Dr. Michael Greger. He has a huge list of videos that are all about diet and health, and he links supporting research that you might also like to read.
My name is Dr. Michael Greger, founder of the nonprofit website nutritionfacts.org. Every year I read through every issue of every English language nutrition journal in the world, so busy folks out there don't have to. And I compile all the most interesting, most groundbreaking, most practical findings into new videos and articles I upload every day to the website. Everything is free, no ads, no commercial sponsorship, not selling anything. In fact, all of my proceeds from my books, DVDs, speaking engagements all goes to charity. I just do this as a public service, and actually all goes back to my grandma, who when I was a little kid was diagnosed with end-stage heart disease at age 65. Confined to a wheelchair, crushing chest pain, already had multiple bypasses, and sent home to die. And then she heard on 60 Minutes, Nathan Pritikin, she's one of his first patients. They wheeled her in, and she walked out and lived another 31 years on this planet with her 6 grandkids, including me. And that was the day when she came out that I knew I wanted to be a doctor. But then in medical school, they didn't teach. I mean, by then, Ornish had published in The Lancet Lifestyle Heart Trial, reversing our #1 killer without drugs, without surgery. And if that didn't get out there, if the cure to our #1 killer, then what else was there in the medical literature that I didn't learn about in medical school? That there wasn't a financial motive, there wasn't a corporate budget driving its promotion out there. And so I made it kind of my life's mission to go back into the literature and look at this incredible mountain of research. It's not like it isn't there. It's not like the studies haven't been done. Now, in the age of the internet, now people can take their life and their health and their family's health into their own hands and educate themselves. They don't need to rely on so-called professionals. Any book that says bacon is good for you is going to sell a lot of books. But, what troubles me is, this isn't an academic debate. This isn't an academic discussion. Who's right, who's wrong? It's people are going to listen to these and actually hurt themselves, hurt their families. People are going to die. What's their #1 cause of death? #2 cause of death? Go down the list. These are largely diet-related diseases, and to tell people to eat these kind of diets that it's not that it's not based on science. The science is the opposite. This is not the Dr. Greger diet versus the Dr. Atkins diet. It's the science. It's centuries of science versus the latest fad that someone wants to sell books over. Diabetes is the 7th leading killer. It's an epidemic. It's now becoming a pandemic around the world as developing countries are starting to take on the rich Western diet. And it's just an absolute tragedy. And they're telling people to eat exactly what's causing the disease. The type 2 diabetes, which is the #1 cause of blindness, #1 cause of non-traumatic amputations, #1 cause of kidney failure in this country. These are horrific complications. And what does modern medicine have to give them? Just trying to reduce the complication rate. Just not treating the underlying cause, and we can cure this disease even years into the process, which is really exciting. It's not like, we used to think, we just kind of kill off these betas of these insulin-producing pancreatic cells, but it's actually maybe we're just kind of suppressing them. And we can actually kind of wake them back up if we actually eat a cleaner diet, reduce that fat. Diabetes is a disease of fat toxicity in our organs, in our muscles, in our liver, in our pancreas. My mission in life is to help make people make evidence-based, science-based decisions as to what to feed themselves and their families to prevent, treat, even reverse chronic diseases that are laying waste to our society. I put all my work up free, nutritionfacts.org, and the science points to a diet centered around whole plant foods. Are you ready for the best-kept secret in medicine? The best-kept secret in medicine is that, given the right conditions, the body heals itself. Treating cardiovascular disease, for example, with appropriate dietary changes is good medicine, reducing mortality without any adverse effects. Yes, we should keep doing research, but educating physicians and patients alike about the existing knowledge about the power of nutrition as medicine may be the best investment we can make.